Disney Princess. Belle and the Perfect Pearl by Ellen D. Risco. Illustrations by the Disney Storybook Art Team. "What do you suppose is behind these doors, Chip?" Belle asked the enchanted teacup. "Books," Chip replied. Belle laughed. "I mean, what kind of books, silly?" Belle threw open the doors. "I knew it! More beautiful adventures, tucked away and forgotten, maybe even unread," she said. It wasn't that the Beast didn't use the library, but when he did, he always read the same book. "My library is your library," he liked to remind Belle. "Read and enjoy any book you find." It hadn't been long since Belle had agreed to stay at the castle in return for her father's freedom. But each day she was getting to know the Beast better. She was starting to think that he actually cared about her happiness. So Belle took the Beast at his word and made herself at home in the library. On many days, she spent hours there, reading book after book, losing all track of time. Belle considered books priceless treasures, so when she took a break from reading, she gave the books special attention. Belle asked Feather Duster to help her dust them. She placed fallen books back on the shelves. She pressed flat any folded pages. One morning, Belle noticed the Beast had left his favorite book lying open on the arm of his chair. "That's not good for the binding," Belle said. She picked up the book, closed it, then turned it over in her hands. Although the leather cover was worn, it was a beautiful volume with decorative gems on its brass clasp. "Chip, look!" she said, pointing at the pearls. There was an empty hole where a fourth one should be. Thought Belle. How long has it been missing? Belle looked around on the floor in case it had fallen out just then. Chip helped her search. "I found something," he called. There, by the library door, was a single, perfect pearl. "Let's see if it fits," Belle suggested. She dropped the pearl into the hole in the clasp. "Just right," said Chip. But the pearl was loose and wouldn't stay put. "I have an idea," Belle said. "This book is obviously your master's favorite. I'll fix it up a bit at a time. As the finishing touch, I'll reattach the pearl." "Then you can surprise him!" Chip cried. Belle nodded. She was happy to do something nice for the Beast. Belle got right to work. She borrowed some rags and polish from Mrs. Potts and gently cleaned the leather cover. Then she put the book back on the Beast's chair so he wouldn't miss it. But when the Beast came into the library, he didn't pick up his book. He seemed to be looking for something. "Can I help?" Belle asked. "No!" he bellowed. Then, more quietly, he added, no. Excuse me." Without another word, he left the room. Belle was startled but shrugged it off, assuming the Beast's bad mood would pass. That afternoon, Belle did some more work on the book. Carefully, she smoothed out rumpled pages and polished the brass clasp. "I can see myself," Chip said. Again, Belle put the book back in its place on the Beast's chair. Later that evening, Belle passed the Beast in the hall. She smiled and stopped to greet him. "Good evening." "Good night," he snapped, hurrying by. Belle stood there, a bit stunned. He hadn't even glanced her way. Is something the matter? She wondered. The next morning, it was time for Belle to add the pearl, but she wasn't sure she was ready to give the book to the beast. He had been so grouchy the day before. What would he be like today? She wondered. Just then, the beast burst through the door. "You?" he cried. "You've had the pearl all along? I've been everywhere trying to find it." "Well, why didn't you say so?" Belle shouted. Then she tossed the pearl onto the table. "By the way, I've been fixing up your book as a surprise." The beast was shocked. He looked at the book. He picked up the pearl. Then he smiled and began to laugh. Belle stormed toward the door. "Belle, wait," the beast said. His gentle voice made Belle stop and turn. "I've been working on something for you, too." In the beast's hand was a lovely antique pin. "It's been in my family a long time," he explained. "I wanted you to have it, but first, I had something to add." He placed the pearl on the pin at the base of the rose. It fit perfectly. "I removed the pearl from my book yesterday," he said, "but I must have dropped it on my way out and—" He looked down. "I'm sorry I blamed you." Now it was Belle's turn to laugh. "Well, I'm sorry I stole your surprise." Belle pinned the gold rose with the perfect pearl to her dress. Then she watched as the beast noticed his book's shining brass clasp, polished cover, and smooth pages. "Thank you, Belle," he said. "You've made it new." "I'll race you to the lookout point," Princess Aurora called to Prince Philip as they galloped through the forest one sunny fall morning. She sped away on her horse, Moonlight, with Prince Philip close behind. Just as Aurora and Philip rounded a bend, they heard a funny noise. A small dragon popped from behind a tree and scampered toward Aurora. "Oh, he's so cute!" Aurora exclaimed as she dismounted. "Grr, grr, grr," the little dragon murmured, clambering into Aurora's lap. But Philip wanted to protect his wife. "Dragons can be dangerous." The little dragon shook his head no. "I think he's saying he's not dangerous," Aurora laughed. "Please, let's take him home. I'm going to name him Crackle." "He does seem like a harmless little fellow," Philip agreed. But Moonlight was still afraid. She tossed her mane and pawed the ground. Crackle's tail drooped sadly. Then he grinned his funny little grin. Suddenly, he licked Moonlight's nose with his long, warm tongue. Moonlight blinked with surprise and nuzzled Crackle under the chin. The little dragon giggled. "Moonlight likes Crackle," Aurora laughed. When Philip and Aurora rode into the courtyard, the three fairies were hanging banners for King Stephen and the Queen, who were coming for a ball that night. "Come, my dear, let's practice dancing," Philip said to his princess. Flora gasped when she saw Crackle. "Dragons can be dangerous." "Remember the last one," Fauna added. "Ooh, I think he's sweet," Merryweather spoke up. "Grr, grr," Crackle babbled. "He thinks you're sweet, too," Aurora told Merryweather as Prince Philip swept his princess across the courtyard. Just then, Crackle noticed a kitten in Fauna's workbasket. Crackle listened to the cute kitten purring. Crackle scrunched up his mouth and closed his eyes. "Purr-grr, purr-grr," Crackle tried to purr. Clouds of smoke puffed from his nose and mouth. Achoo! Achooey! Achoo! The fairies sneezed so hard that they fluttered backward. Please, achoo! Stop trying to purr, Fauna exclaimed. Crackle looked sad for a moment. Then he saw the kitten playing with a ball of yarn from the work basket, and his eyes lit up. He snatched a ball of yarn with his mouth. Whoosh! It caught fire. Merryweather put the fire out with her wand. Oh, Crackle, Aurora said gently. You're not a kitten, you're a dragon. Crackle's lower lip trembled. Just then, Crackle saw Philip leading the horses into the stables. A dog followed Philip, barking and wagging its tail. Crackle wagged his tail and ran to the stables too. Woof-grr! Woof-grr! He tried to bark. Flames shot from his mouth and caught some straw on fire. Philip poured water on the burning straw. You're not a dog, he said kindly, shooing Crackle away. When Aurora saw Crackle creep from the stable, she carried him into the castle and cuddled him on a window seat. A bird was singing outside. Crackle's ears perked up and his eyes shone hopefully. La la grrr! He bellowed. King Hubert heard the racket and rushed into the room. Oh, my! How did a dragon get in here? He blustered. Frightened by the king, Crackle jumped from the window seat and ran into the garden. Aurora ran after him. At last, she found the little dragon sitting beside a waterfall that splashed down from one pool to another. Crackle was studying a fish swimming in the lowest pool. Before Aurora could stop him, Crackle splashed into the water. The startled fish leaped into a higher pool. Crackle, you're not a fish, Aurora exclaimed as she pulled Crackle from the pool. You're not a kitten, or a dog, or a bird either. You're a dragon. Tears rolled down Crackle's face. Grr, 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 he sobbed. Suddenly, Aurora understood. Do you think no one will like you because you're a dragon? She asked. Crackle nodded and whimpered sadly. Crackle, you can't change being a dragon, Aurora said kindly. But you don't have to be a dangerous dragon. You can be a brave, helpful dragon. Crackle stopped crying. Grr, 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 he growled hopefully. Before Aurora could answer, thunder boomed. Wind blew black clouds over the sun. Aurora snatched up Crackle. She reached the castle doors just as the rain began to pour down. Everyone was gathered in the grand hallway, watching the storm. I'm afraid King Stephen and the Queen might lose their way on the road above the cliffs, Prince Philip said, his voice filled with concern. I should ride out to help. Aurora looked at Crackle. Do you want to show everyone that you're a brave and helpful dragon? She asked. Grr, 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 Crackle exclaimed enthusiastically. Fly to the top of the highest castle tower, Aurora explained. Then blow the largest, brightest flames you can. Aurora watched him as the little fellow soared upward. Come on, everyone, the princess called. She ran to get a better view of the watchtower, with Philip and the others following closely behind. Everyone tried to see Crackle at the top of the tower, but the storm was too dark and strong. Suddenly, they saw huge flames. They were coming from little Crackle. Gold and red light flashed in the sky above the watchtower. Again and again, Crackle blew his flames until at last Philip shouted, "I see King Stephen and the Queen! They're almost here!" Everyone hurried to greet the visiting royals. "The tower light saved us," King Stephen exclaimed. "I need one like it." At that moment, Crackle flew happily to join in the fun. "Well, there he is, our new tower light," King Hubert said with a laugh. "A dragon?" King Stephen asked. "But dragons are danger—" "Not Crackle," Aurora interrupted. "He's a brave and helpful dragon." That night at the ball, Crackle lit the candles, warmed food, and kept the fireplace blazing. King Hubert and the fairies were so pleased that they took turns scratching Crackle beneath his chin. As Prince Philip and Aurora danced, Crackle trotted beside them. Outside, it was cold and stormy, but inside, everyone was happy and warm, especially Crackle, the helpful dragon.